You want to introduce yourselves to the people?
Yeah, Dom Kennedy, Lamar Park, California. What's cool and all that.
So, you just released the first album from the Westside With Love II after all the mixtapes and all that good stuff. How does it feel?
It feels good, hard work. I think the dedication of my fans and myself, have got me here to where it's been a successful project. I was definitely proud of, the music first and foremost, and I just couldn't wait for everybody to, get to hear it. I was actually working up to the last minute up until we put it out, but I was just really excited, to share some new music with the people.
Do you have a favorite song on it so far?
So, I haven't even got to listen to it that many times actually, but I like She Ain't In Love With Me a lot. That's one of my favorites. It's a couple of them. The prayer song, I like how I started it. The She Ain't In Love With Me, and the When I Come Around probably is one of my favorites.
So what was the idea behind the cover art? Because I feel like the first few mixtapes, the cover art was very simple, and this one was a little more boom, in your face. What was the idea behind that?
Well, I had that idea for a while. The style of the writing is something I had for a while. It's just something that I couldn't do. It's something that you got to do by hand. And I didn't really know anybody that could do it, and I couldn't do it. And then I met this guy, shout out to Archer One. We was working on some T-shirt designs, and then I was telling him about the style of writing, because that was a real heavy LA. When I was growing up, I used to see that writing a lot with gangs and just people writing their names in that style. So I always liked it and always stuck in the back of my mind. I just couldn't, I just never had anybody to do it, for me. So I knew I wanted something with the sunset, and he kind of just put it together. I put him in a direction, gave him some references, and, it worked out.
So you've been doing music for years. Would you say that this album is your biggest accomplishment, or do you have another thing that really just blows you away?
Definitely, I would say just being able to independently put out my own project on iTunes, but really just traveling, and doing shows and being able to talk to fans and interact and see how the music really affects them and it sticks with them in their everyday life is really what I do it for,
So, I've heard a lot of artists talk about the process between making an album and making a mixtape. Do you have one that you prefer, or are they both just straight up music? It doesn't
To
really
me,
matter?
it's basically the same thing because I approach everything I do is like it's an album. I mean, from the Westside With Love, the first one I approached it the same way. It was like an album, I just didn't sell it. So I always go into it with the highest, quality in mind and hope that it reaches all levels. You know what I'm saying? Whether one person hears it or whether it wins the Grammy, it wouldn't make me a difference. I still am gonna try and, present it, the artwork, the packaging, the music, the order. I'm still gonna put everything into it.
That's beautiful. So my favorite tracks are Choose Up and When You See Love. They're very different. What were the writing process and the ideas behind the two of those?
Choose Up was that was a lot more fun song. That was actually one of the first songs I actually had a hand in production. Okay. In terms of I did that melody in my head and with my mouth boom 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 boom. I told them that's what I wanted to go with because we was in the studio and I wasn't liking where we was at and what we were doing. So I kind of just was let's just make it simple. Let's just do something really simple. You know what I'm saying? It was just an experiment, but it ended up working. And then once I got the beat, I just kind of tried to write it to how the, the up and down go. This, that, west side, up. And that's always what I try to do anyway. Music, the words match up, the flow, I guess, matches up with the beat. When You See Love was a song that I was done doing the original Dom Kennedy tape, but that night before I put it out, we was mixing it or whatever. And I just happened to come across from my homie Polly. He had that beat with that hook on there, and it just touched me instantly, so crazy. And I just ended up recording it right there. And I was like, man, what am I gonna do with it? And I was like, fuck it, put it on there. That's the last song, and that's literally what happened. In an hour, that's how that came to be.
So what is next for you? I'm sure there's so much. What are a couple things that are coming up next?
I mean, yeah, just a lot of shows, very promoting the Westside With Love II project to get as many people to hear it as possible. We're going to do a DVD, with the CD. I'm trying to put it out in September. But basically what's going to happen is I'm going to try and shoot a video for I'm not going to try, but mostly every song will have a video, but it'll be packaged around acting and little clips like to tie it in with the album that I want to put out in like September as like a Westside With Love II DVD. So we're gonna be working on that all summer long, and then just I'm gonna stay working. Like I already, you know, I found myself the day after it came out, I made a new song. And
I seen that on Twitter.
Yeah, I've already like start thinking like about a project in the fall that I possibly want to do. So
can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop.
Special Sundays radio show with me, your host, Miss Special, bringing you hip hop, local events, artist interviews, and making you feel special. Every episode is podcasted on specialsundays.com.